Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. I don't know how many more things we're going to find that have been hidden in plain sight. It seems like there's no end. I came across something amazing that I want to share with you. And it starts with this Church News podcast, episode 306. New Testament themes for 2027. Come follow me with Institute teacher Donnie Anderson. I recently did a video about the upcoming Come Follow Me. There were some interesting things to think about with that. So if you missed that video, make sure to watch it. Also, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. This is a great way to support the channel if you enjoy this content. It really helps me out, as well as your other favorite YouTubers. Okay, so we have Donnie Anderson, and he's being interviewed by my favorite church news reporter, Mary Richards. She's from Missouri. And this led me to something really interesting. Okay, Donnie Anderson. The young adults I work with most as an institute teacher are giving, as adults, free time to gather with others to learn the gospel. So I start with an incredible group to begin with. So they're amazing, but they're dealing with multiple attacks constantly, online, social media, friends. And these attacks, sometimes they're going after sacred doctrines. There's open deceptions, and there's also decontextualized facts that can be really harmful. You take a fact in history, and with its context, it makes sense. And you remove it out of its context, and you can make great people and great things look very sinister. And excuse me, and they're confronted with all of these things. Really quick, you guys, if you have any sort of prompting, you've had any thoughts about getting on social media, being a content creator, I would act on that. I think there is really, really a need on TikTok, especially. There is so much filth over there, but that shouldn't stop you from spreading light, because that's how you drive out the darkness, is by shining light. And unfortunately, there's a lot of young adults and youth that are on TikTok. But whatever the case, if you're feeling prompted to do it, because we have to combat these deceptions. And I don't mean like actively argue with individual content creators that are attacking the church, so much as just proclaiming the gospel, teaching truth, being a good example. It goes really, really far. Okay, but let's read this next part. But also, I noticed that this very generation is very focused on Christ. I think maybe more than any generation previous. When he said this, it made me think of a quote from President Hinckley. And this is what led me to a pretty amazing realization. We're going to have to go to my spreadsheet for rising generation quotes, but let's just finish this off first. But he's comparing generations. He's saying that he thinks that this generation is more focused on Christ. And I think he's right. That's my opinion. All right, continuing. And I think part of that is some of the blessings that President Nelson promised when the Lord corrected our use with the name of the church. I think that this generation is more focused on Christ, and that's powerful to see. So he repeats that again. I'm gonna skip these next two paragraphs. And then Mary Richards. Oh, I love that, what you said. And I think too, about this morning, I was re-listening to one of President Dallin H. Oaks' talks from General Conference. I've been trying to go back and listen to all of them. He said he's often focusing on Jesus Christ as well. And so the young adults focusing on Christ, we have to prepare for his return. Can you tell that she's from Missouri? And next year we're going to be studying beginning with his birth and his life. I'm so excited for it. So because Church News is owned by the church, I'm going to go ahead and put this down on my spreadsheet for second coming quotes. So it's our newest second coming quote, and it's our second quote for the month of August. So August is starting out right. Okay. Now let's go to a very similar spreadsheet that I have. These are basically second coming quotes. They all at least allude to the second coming, but these are quotes that specifically have to do with the rising generation. And what I found, I better make sure to add this as the topic for this new quote. I created a new category or new topic called Better Than Previous Generations. Now, before we get into this, please do not get offended. Look, I'm not part of this generation that he's talking about, or that President Nelson has talked about and President Oaks. It's okay. It's not a competition, but it's a sign. It's a sign of the second coming. I've realized after going through this little exercise tonight that this is just like when people say, oh, they've always said that, this generation is the generation that's going to see Christ or things like that. Well, I found out when I made this spreadsheet, that's not true. I've pointed that out many times. If you go down to 1966, this kind of talk did not start until 1966, where a church leader is talking about a specific generation. Okay. I don't have the quotes from before then, if there are any. The only one that I have before 1966 is this from President Joseph Fielding Smith, 1936, where in Doctrines of Salvation, he said, I sincerely believe it will come in the very day when some of us who are here today in 1936 will be living upon the face of the earth when the second coming happens. So kind of, but then this like generational talk does not begin until 1966. If you have any quotes from before then, please send them my way. My email is in the description box. You can comment in the comments. Okay, so that's for just rising generation quotes in general. But we have this new subcategory or topic where the speaker specifically says that this generation is better than previous generations, or that this is the finest generation. So basically comparing the current generation to previous ones. Again, this should not be taken offensively. It's okay if someone is better than you, whether individually or collectively, when we're talking about generations, it's okay. Ultimately, we are all children of God. We all have equal value. It's just that, I don't know, maybe they were more valiant in the premortal life. Maybe they received more training. We'll get all those details after this life, and we'll know why they're the finest generation. But these quotes, this new thing I want to share with you, these quotes that essentially compare generations do not start until 1989. Before 1989, going back to 1966, you have general quotes like, you make no mistake about it, you are a marked generation, from President Benson. But he didn't do a comparison. He didn't say, this generation is more prepared than previous generations. This is the finest team. He didn't say anything like that, but this is just an example of what you have between 1966 and 1989. So I have a number of these, and it just starts abruptly. I've gone through all these quotes. I may have missed one or two, but it starts abruptly. The first one that I have is this one from, at the time, Elder Boyd K. Packer of the Quorum of the 12, the April 1989 General Conference. It is my conviction that your generation, and in this case, he's referring to Generation X, Gen X, It is my conviction that your generation is better and stronger than was ours, better in many ways. I have faith that you young men and young women can meet the world on its own terms and conquer it. Okay, so this is the first one. Let's go to the next one. This is President Gordon B. Hinckley. At this time, he was first counselor in the first presidency. April 1992 General Conference. I regard you as the finest generation in the history of the church. So this is a comparison. It's either you're in the finest generation or you're not. And it's okay. It's okay if you're not. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we have that from President Hinckley, but then we have another one from President Hinckley. This time, he's president of the church, April 1995 General Conference. Or I'm sorry, no, this is in the ensign, the April ensign of that year. All right, he says, we are particularly proud of our youth. I think we have never had a stronger generation of young men and women than we have today. Okay, and then there's another one from him, but I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go to this one. This is from Church News, September 2nd, 1995. You are great young people. I've said again and again, we have the finest generation of young people ever in the history of this church. I believe it. You know the gospel better. You have come to seminary and you learn about the things of the Lord here. You know more about the gospel than those of my generation at your age did, without any question. I am satisfied of that. Further, you are intrinsically, which means like naturally, you are intrinsically better. You are wonderful young people. So at this point, he is speaking to both Gen X as well as millennials. I have these two columns right here to show you when you had like for the millennials, the oldest of the millennials until the last 18-year-olds of the millennial generation. And I've done that for all the generations. Okay. Let's move on. We have this one from Elder Richard G. Scott of the Quorum of the 12. This was a BYU devotional, 1996. You are of the finest generation that has come to earth. You have prepared yourself well in the premortal existence and have been selected to come forth in this singularly important time in the unfolding of the Father's plan. Okay. We got a few more that I want to share with you. Back to President Hinckley. What is this? An evening with President Gordon B. Hinckley, February 7th, 2003. How marvelous is the generation with which you deal. We have never had a generation its equal in all the history of the church. So you get the sense, I hope, that President Hinckley really believed this. And I would say, because I have a testimony that he's a prophet of God, knew this. I feel like he knew this, that something special was happening with this rising generation of his time when he was president of the church. He repeated it multiple times, and I have other quotes like from Sherry Dew right here where she quotes President Hinckley. So President Hinckley said it a number of times and he was quoted a number of times. It was just one of those things. We have another one from Elder Glenn L. Pace of the 70, but we're going to fast forward. Now we're in the presidency of President Nelson, and this is his first year as president of the church. And now the rising generation, the youth, is Gen Z. So what did President Nelson say? He said, and this was a interview of him by KSL News. He said, I think the young people of the church are the finest that have ever been on planet Earth. They've come with that special equipment that God has reserved for the wind-up scene prior to his second coming. All right, so it's like each generation that goes by is better than the last, and that's okay. I'm part of the millennials. I'm in the oldest. I'm among the oldest of the millennials, almost a Gen Xer. I'm okay with that. I don't mind. It's fine. We're all on the same team, and the way that the church is played out, it's like every generation helps bring about the next generation, and um, like we all build on top of each other on previous generations, so it's okay. President Nelson, this is still his first year as president of the church. This was a social media post, and he said, "Last night at the worldwide devotional for youth, I remarked that our Heavenly Father has reserved many of his most noble spirits, perhaps I might say his finest team, for this final phase." That is such a powerful quote from a prophet of God. His finest team for this final phase. This is another quote that was repeated a number of times. I have it on my spreadsheet of called timeline phrases, where you don't see this phrase final phase until President Nelson's presidency. You don't see it before this point. And I think he's serious about it. He continues, "Those noble spirits, those finest players, those heroes are you, the youth of the church." Um, going to the bottom now. "Please remember, my dear young brothers and sisters, you are among the best the Lord has ever sent to this world. You have the capacity to be smarter and wiser and have more impact on the world than any previous generation." Isn't that interesting? You would think, I guess I can't fault people when they're like, oh, they've always said that, because when you hear these words, and if you haven't done an in-depth study like what I've done, you would, you couldn't be faulted for thinking, oh, they've always said that, because you feel like you hear these type of things, but you can't really know unless you put it on a timeline and you become a content creator like me, doing this full time for 5 years, getting thousands of emails and even more comments, doing this big, project together, like outsourcing. What do they call it? Crowdsourcing. This like research that we're doing. I'm telling you, they have not always said this, and it's so interesting that it basically started with during the presidency of Ezra Taft Benson. That's basically where it started. I don't have any quotes where he has said this. I might have to do some more searching for these specific phrases, but he is the one speaking to Gen X that said that they are a marked generation. They are the ones that must prepare to meet their God, referring to the second coming. So, and we've seen this kind of like, almost like duality between President Benson and President Nelson. President Benson was the one who, to my knowledge, first used the baseball analogy, the final inning. And then President Nelson, in his FSY 2022 pre-recorded message, said that we're in the last half of the ninth inning. I have another spreadsheet that shows that President Nelson and President Benson are the two prophets who have spoken the most about the second coming in General Conference from the time that they started giving General Conference talks. So you have something special going on between President Benson and President Nelson. And this is just another thing, this emphasis on highlighting the current generation as being better than all previous generations. Not something to be ashamed of. Okay, continuing. I read that right. Yeah, okay. I think I have couple more. Yeah. Okay. Then we have this from Elder Neil L. Anderson of the Quorum of the 12. This was the 150th anniversary of Young Men Organization event, July 13th, 2025. Okay. Remember, you are a chosen generation. Oh, and at this point, by the way, we are now including Generation Alpha. So Gen Z and Generation Alpha. Remember, remember, you are a chosen generation. You are perhaps the most remarkable generation that's been upon the earth. You're here with us, but we're much older than you are, to prepare the world for the time of the Lord, for the time the Lord comes back and for the second coming. And then I'm going to skip down here. We love you. We're very proud of you. We have never seen a better group, a better generation, as they prepare to serve missions and to become the fathers and priesthood holders of the world. Okay. And then the last one that I have comes from President Oaks. Okay. This is posted by Church News on YouTube. New First Presidency discusses key issues and shares hopes for the world. October 16th, 2025. So just 2 days after President Oaks became president of the church. Jane Clayson Johnson asks, this is such a special generation, isn't it? The rising generation. There's something different and unique about them. President Oaks, yes, I see them more firmly grounded and stronger than the generation in which I was raised. And I think that's it. That's all I wanted to share from that quote. So there it is. It's another one of these like hidden things that I don't know that you would necessarily pick up on. Maybe some people did. I don't know. But we've done it tonight. So this category of quotes where church leaders say, we've never had a better generation. This generation is better than generations past. They're better than my generation. They're more prepared. They're closer to Jesus Christ. They know the gospel more. This category of rising generation quotes did not start, as far as I'm aware, until 1989 with Elder Boyd K. Packer during the presidency of President Ezra Taft Benson. Okay? It's one of those things that you might be tempted to say, oh, they've always said that, but no, they have not. And since they have not, then what does that mean? I think it means that the second coming is soon, among so many other things that we've covered on this channel. It's like, I can't even cover it all in just one video. Did you know that there was one time, I think it was earlier this year, I made a 5-hour video and it didn't cover a fraction of what I have on my spreadsheets and all the stuff that we've talked about. There's just too much. I'm doing the best I can, you guys. Please watch me every day, subscribe. I'm doing the best that I can to pull these things out, but there are so many indicators. It's just so exciting. And here's this one that's just been right under our nose this whole time. It didn't start until 1989. That is crazy. That is wonderful. That is exciting. All right, guys, that's going to be for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.